Have you ever felt that despite all your years of care and hard work, the world has become a bit louder and more indifferent? Perhaps you feel a quiet heaviness after a long day of looking after others, or a sense of regret for moments you cannot change. In our later years, we often face challenges that do not have easy fixes, whether it is a family disconnect or a change in our health. These moments can drain our spirit if we let them. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in his private journals, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Imagine a lighthouse standing on a rocky shore. It does not try to stop the wind or the waves. It simply stays lit, remaining steady while the storm rages. Today, we will explore 7 practical habits to help you build that same inner steadiness. We will look at how to reclaim your dignity and find a calm center. I invite you to stay with us as we walk through these steps together. If you are ready to begin, please type, "I reclaim my peace." I reclaim my peace. The Stoics taught a fundamental principle known as prohairesis. This is a Greek word that refers to our faculty of choice or our reasoned will. They believed that your mind is like a fortress or a high citadel on a hill. Throughout your life, the world will try to attack this fortress. People may criticize your choices. Your physical health may begin to fade, or your financial security might shift. However, the Stoics argued that these things only live outside the walls of your fortress. Inside the citadel, you are the absolute ruler. Nothing can enter your mind and cause you suffering unless you personally open the gate and let it in. This means that while you cannot control what happens to you, you have total and absolute authority over what those events mean to you. In our modern world, this principle is incredibly difficult to practice, especially for those of us who have lived long lives of service and sacrifice. After decades of raising children, working hard, and caring for our communities, we naturally feel that we have earned a certain level of respect and consideration. We expect our family to remember our birthdays. We expect our neighbors to be kind. We expect our bodies to remain strong. When these expectations are not met, it does not just feel like a small problem. It feels like a personal theft of our peace. We often believe that our happiness is a direct result of how others treat us or how well our day is going. We have unknowingly given the keys to our fortress to our children, our doctors, and even the strangers we meet in traffic. We feel vulnerable because we have allowed our inner peace to depend on things we do not control. Let us consider a modern illustration to see how this looks in daily life. Imagine a woman named Margaret. She is in her late 60s and has spent her entire Saturday in the kitchen. She has prepared a wonderful roast and baked a pie, looking forward to a rare visit from her adult children and grandchildren. She is excited for the connection and the laughter just 1 hour before they are supposed to arrive. Her phone buzzes on the counter. It is a short text message from her daughter. It says they are all very tired and have decided to stay home and order pizza instead. In an instant, the warmth in Margaret's house feels like a bitter chill. She looks at the food she spent hours making and feels a deep sense of being discarded. Her mind begins to spiral into thoughts of how ungrateful the younger generation has become. She feels her heart rate increase and a lump form in her throat. Margaret is suffering. A Stoic teacher would look at Margaret with deep compassion, but they would offer her a firm and life-changing truth. The text message is simply a set of facts. It is information appearing on a screen, The distress Margaret feels is not actually caused by her daughter's decision. It is caused by Margaret's own judgment of that decision. She is telling herself a story that she is not valued. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of this truth daily in his private journals. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He did not mean that Margaret should not feel a moment of disappointment. He meant that she has the power to decide how long that disappointment is allowed to stay inside her fortress. She can choose to see the cancellation as a personal insult, which causes her pain. Or she can choose to see it as an unexpected evening of quiet rest for herself, which brings her peace. The event is the same, but the ruler of the fortress chooses the outcome. You can apply this principle when you find yourself in the difficult role of a caregiver. Perhaps you are looking after a spouse who is struggling with their memory or their temper due to illness. When they say something sharp or hurtful, remind yourself that their words are external events. They are like a storm hitting the outside of the fortress walls. You do not have to open the gate and let those words hurt your spirit. Their illness is outside of your control, but your dignity as a patient and loving partner is entirely within your control. Apply this when you feel the weight of overthinking at night. When your mind begins to replay old regrets or worries about the future, stand at the gate of your citadel. Remind yourself that the past is gone and the future is not yet here. Only the present moment lives inside your walls. You are the one who decides which thoughts are allowed to sit at your table. To begin building your own inner citadel today, I want to give you a very specific and simple practice. It is called the 5-second gatekeeper rule. The next time you feel a surge of hurt, anger, or frustration, I want you to stop. Do not speak a single word. Do not send a text message. Simply count slowly to 5. During these 5 seconds, imagine yourself as a guard standing at the heavy gates of your mind. Look at the hurtful thought or the angry reaction that is trying to rush in. Ask it one question. Is this thought helping my character, or is it hurting it? If the thought is one of resentment or self-pity, realize that it is a spy trying to sabotage your peace. Take a deep breath and remind yourself that your dignity is not for sale. You can feel the emotion, but you do not have to become the emotion. By taking just 5 seconds to pause, you reclaim your power. You remind yourself that you are the only one who decides how you feel. This practice is not about being cold or unfeeling. It is about being free. It is about realizing that your happiness is too precious to be left in the hands of other people or random events. Your peace of mind is your most valuable possession. Do not give the keys to your fortress to anyone else. I will say that again because I want it to stay with you today. Your peace of mind is your most valuable possession. Do not give the keys to your fortress to anyone else. When you decide to be the master of your own mind, you become like that lighthouse we spoke of earlier. The waves may crash, and the wind may howl, but your light remains steady and bright. You are no longer a victim of your circumstances. You are a person of character and strength. If you are ready to start protecting your inner world today, please let us know in the comments. I invite you to type the words, "I am the guardian of my own peace. I am the guardian of my own peace." This principle goes much deeper than just tolerating your life or gritting your teeth through a difficult season. To the Stoics, amor fati means accepting everything that happens to you, including the losses, the setbacks, and the physical pains, as if you had specifically chosen them for your own growth. They believed that life is like a play. You do not get to choose the script, and you do not get to choose your role. Some are cast as kings, and some are cast as servants. Some are cast in a story of health, and others in a story of struggle. Your only job, your only true duty, is to play the role you have been given with the utmost dignity and grace. You look at your current reality not as a mistake or a punishment, but as the raw material you have been given to work with today in our modern world. This is perhaps the hardest lesson of all to swallow. We are constantly surrounded by messages that tell us we should always be comfortable, always be healthy, and always be surrounded by a perfect, happy family. When we reach our middle and later years, the reality often looks very different. We face the thinning of our social circles as friends move away or pass on. We face the frustration of a body that no longer moves as quickly as it once did. We see a world that seems to move faster than we can keep up with, because we have been told our whole lives that happiness comes from having everything go our way. We feel a deep sense of betrayal when life becomes difficult. We spend our precious energy wishing things were different. We say things like, "I wish I were 10 years younger," or "I wish my children called me more often." This wishing is like trying to fight the wind. It does not change the wind. It only leaves you exhausted and bitter. Let us look at a modern illustration that many of you may find familiar. Consider a man named James. James is 72 years old. For 40 years, he and his wife, Sarah, traveled, laughed, and planned for a quiet retirement together. But 3 years ago, Sarah's health began to fail. Now, James is her full-time caregiver. His days are no longer filled with travel or hobbies. Instead, they are filled with doctor's appointments, medication schedules, and the repetitive, exhausting tasks of caregiving. On a Tuesday afternoon, as James is cleaning up a spilled meal for the third time that day, he feels a wave of heavy resentment. He looks out the window at his neighbor's car, packed for a vacation, and thinks, "Why is this happening to us? We worked so hard. This isn't the life we were promised." James is not just tired, he is suffering because he is at war with his own reality. He is holding a picture of the life he wanted in one hand and the life he has in the other. The gap between those two pictures is where his pain lives. A Stoic teacher would sit with James and speak to him with great kindness. They would remind him that while his situation is incredibly difficult, his resentment is an added weight he does not need to carry. Epictetus, who was born into slavery and lived with a permanent physical disability, taught his students this very lesson. He said, "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do happen, and you will go on well." He was telling James that the secret to peace is not in Sarah getting better or the neighbors being less lucky. The secret is in James saying to himself, "This is the life I have right now. This is my duty. This is my chance to show what true love and loyalty look like." For James, Stoicism is not about being cold or unfeeling toward his wife. It is about finding the dignity of the duty. When he stops wishing the day were different, he suddenly finds he has more energy to actually handle the day. He finds that even in the middle of a difficult afternoon, there can be a quiet, holy kind of peace in doing a hard job well. You can apply this principle when you are dealing with the pain of a family betrayal or a long-standing conflict with a child. Perhaps you feel you were treated unfairly in a will. or a loved one has stopped speaking to you. You can spend years asking why, or you can practice amor fati. You can say, "This is the family situation I have. I cannot change their hearts. But I can choose to be a person who remains kind and honorable despite their actions." Apply this when you feel the regret of the past creeping in during the quiet hours of the night. If you find yourself overthinking a mistake you made 30 years ago, remember that that event is now part of your fate. You cannot erase it, but you can love the lesson it taught you. You can accept that mistake as a necessary part of the person you have become today. Whatever your faith, there is a profound strength in surrendering to the reality of the present moment. To help you practice this today, I want to teach you a 3-minute exercise called neutral labeling. The next time you face a hardship, whether it is a painful knee, a lonely evening, or a piece of bad news, I want you to stop and describe it to yourself without using a single emotional adjective. For example, instead of saying, "This is a terrible, lonely, miserable house," you would say, "This is a quiet house." Instead of saying, "This is an unfair and frustrating health problem," you would say, "My body has a physical limitation today." Spend 3 minutes just observing the facts. When you remove words like unfair, terrible, or why me, you remove the sting from the reality. You are not lying to yourself. You are simply stripping away the extra layers of suffering that your mind has added. You will find that facts are much easier to carry than grievances. Facts do not drain your energy. It is the stories we tell about the facts that make us feel weak. Amor fati is the art of turning your obstacles into your fuel. If life gives you a period of solitude, do not call it loneliness, call it an opportunity for reflection. If life gives you a physical challenge, call it a chance to practice patience. When you stop fighting against the current of your life, you finally have the strength to swim. I want to repeat that for you. When you stop fighting against the current of your life, you finally have the strength to swim by accepting your fate. You are not giving up. You are standing up. You are looking life in the eye and saying, "I am ready for whatever you bring." You are reclaiming your power from the hands of chance and placing it back into your own heart. This is how you find tranquility that no storm can wash away. This is how you live with a steady mind and a peaceful soul. No matter what the day holds, if you are willing to let go of the struggle against reality and find peace in the present, please share that intention with us. I invite you to type the words, "I accept what I cannot change. I accept what I cannot change." We will now explore how to apply these ancient principles to the specific, painful situations that many of you share with us in the comments. We call this the art of Stoic application. The first and perhaps most heavy situation involves the feeling of being betrayed or forgotten by your own family. The Stoic principle here is centered on the idea of social duty versus external results. The Stoics believed that nature has given us certain roles to play. If you are a parent, your role is to be a source of guidance, kindness, and support. If you are a sibling or a friend, your role is to offer loyalty. However, the Stoics made a very clear and sharp distinction. They argued that while your duty is to give love, the way that love is received is entirely outside of your control. In the Stoic view, virtue is its own reward. This means the act of being a good parent is where your success lies, not in the gratitude or the phone calls you receive in return. In our modern world, this is incredibly difficult to live out. We are raised in a culture of reciprocity. We are told that if we are good to people, they will be good to us. When we have spent 30 or 40 years sacrificing our own needs to build a life for our children, it feels like a deep violation of a natural law when they become distant, cold, or ungrateful. We feel as though we have been handed a bad contract. We think I did my part. So where is their part? This sense of being forgotten can lead to a profound loneliness that feels like a heavy weight on the heart. It makes us feel invisible, as if our years of sacrifice meant nothing. Let us look at a modern illustration that is common for many in our community. Let us imagine a man named George. George is 68 years old and lives alone. He worked 2 jobs for most of his life to ensure his 3 children graduated from university debt-free. He was always there for their games and their graduations. Now, his children are successful and busy. They live in different states. Months go by without a phone call. When George tries to reach out, he often gets a short text saying they are too busy to talk. On a quiet Sunday evening, George sits in his living room feeling a stinging sense of betrayal. He feels like a used tool that has been tossed aside now that its job is done. A Stoic would look at George with great respect and offer a perspective to help him reclaim his dignity. They would say that George is confusing his duty with his desires. His duty was to raise his children well, and he succeeded in that. The fact that they are successful and independent is a testament to their work. Their lack of communication, however, is a reflection of their character, not his. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on this when he had to deal with ungrateful or difficult people. He wrote in his journals, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and I have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own." For George, this means realizing that his children are currently caught up in their own natures and their own busy lives. He can choose to be bitter, which only hurts his own soul, or he can choose to remain a person of kindness. He can send a text that says, "I am thinking of you," and "I love you," and then let go of the need for a reply. His kindness is his power. It does not require a thank you to be real. By focusing on his own character, George stops being a victim of his children's silence. If you are struggling with family silence, apply this by realizing that you have already fulfilled your contract with the universe. You gave your love. That gift is complete. What they do with it is their journey, not yours. Whatever your faith, you may find peace in knowing that your worth is seen by a higher power, even when it is missed by those closest to you. To practice this, I invite you to try the generosity shield. This takes only 2 minutes. Think of one person who has let you down or forgotten you. Instead of dwelling on what they owe you, say to yourself, "I did my duty with love. My work is finished. Their response is not my business." Imagine a shield around your heart that allows your love to go out, but prevents their indifference from coming in. Repeat this to yourself whenever the sting of loneliness returns. Your peace is too valuable to be traded for a phone call that may not come. Step number 4. The second situation we must address is the habit of overthinking the what-ifs of the past. The Stoic principle for this is the focus on the present moment. The Stoics believed that time is divided into three parts: the past, which is now dead and unchangeable; the future, which is uncertain and not yet born; and the present, which is the only place where we are actually alive. They taught that to spend your precious present moment grieving over a past mistake is like trying to breathe air that has already left your lungs. It is a waste of the only life you truly possess. In modern life, this is a constant struggle. Our memories are long, and as we have more time for reflection, our minds often wander back to the crossroads of our lives. We think, what if I hadn't taken that job? What if I had stayed in that relationship? What if I had been a more patient parent? We replay these scenes as if we could somehow change the ending if we just think about it enough. This overthinking creates a ghost of the person we could have been, and that ghost haunts the person we are today. It leads to a sense of heutig, or regret, that can rob us of the beauty of our current life. Consider the illustration of a woman named Eleanor. Eleanor is 75. Many years ago, she went through a difficult divorce that she still blames herself for. She also regrets selling her family home during a financial dip. Now, in her quiet apartment, she spends hours every day thinking about those choices. She looks at old photos and feels a heavy knot in her stomach. She feels that her life is a series of mistakes, and this thought makes her feel weak and hopeless. She is physically in the present, but mentally she is living in a world that no longer exists. A Stoic teacher would gently remind Eleanor that the past is now part of the indifferent things. It cannot be changed by even 1,000,000 years of thinking. Seneca, a great Stoic writer, often spoke about the precious nature of time. He wrote, "The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. You are arranging what lies in fortune's control, and abandoning what lies in yours." For Eleanor, this means realizing that every second she spends regretting 30 years ago is a second she is stealing from herself today. The what-if version of her life is a lie. There is only the life she has. By accepting her past as a closed book, she can finally start living in the room she is in right now. She can look at her apartment not as a sign of failure, but as a place of current peace and safety. Apply this when you feel the ghost of regret rising. Tell yourself, that version of me did the best they could with the knowledge they had. The person I am today knows more, and that person chooses to be here now. To help you ground yourself when overthinking takes over, I invite you to try the 5-sense grounding exercise. It takes exactly 3 minutes. When you feel trapped in the past, stop and name 5 things you can see right now. Name 4 things you can touch. Name 3 things you can hear. Name 2 things you can smell. And finally, name 1 thing you can taste. This simple act pulls your mind out of the dead past and back into the living present. It reminds you that you are here, you are safe, and you are alive. We must remember that our time is the only thing we truly own. Do not give it away to ghosts. Do not let the mistakes of yesterday steal the sunlight of today. By staying in the present, you remain in control. You remain steady. I will say that again. Do not let the mistakes of yesterday steal the sunlight of today. If you are ready to let go of the past and stand firm in your dignity today, please let us know. I invite you to type the words, "My peace is my power. My peace is my power." We are now going to put everything we have discussed into a concrete and structured journey. This is what we call the 7-day dignity and recovery plan. The core principle behind this plan is a concept the Stoics called ascesis. This is a Greek word that means training or exercise. The Stoics believe that wisdom is not something you simply read about in a book or listen to in a video. It is a physical and mental habit that must be built through daily repetition. Just as a soldier trains for battle during times of peace, or an athlete trains their muscles through consistent effort, a person seeking tranquility must train their mind through small, daily acts of discipline. The Stoics taught that your character is essentially the sum of your daily habits. If you practice being reactive and resentful every day, you will become a reactive and resentful person. But if you practice being steady and dignified every day, that steadiness becomes your very nature. In our modern world, this systematic training is incredibly difficult to maintain. We live in a culture that rewards instant results and constant distraction. Everything around us is designed to pull our attention away from ourselves and toward the latest crisis, the newest product, or the most recent gossip. We are conditioned to look for quick fixes for our emotional pain. When we feel lonely or stressed, we reach for our phones, turn on the television, or look for a distraction. We have lost the art of sitting with ourselves and working on our inner world. Furthermore, the modern world often views peace as something that happens to you when you go on a vacation or buy something new. The Stoics argue that peace is something you build, brick by brick, through the way you handle your ordinary, quiet days. Let us look at a modern illustration of this training in action. Imagine a man named Thomas. Thomas is 62 years old and feels that his life has become a series of irritations. He is bothered by the political news on his television. He is frustrated by a neighbor who is loud and inconsiderate. He feels a sense of lingering guilt over a falling out he had with his brother several years ago. Thomas wants to feel better, but he feels like his mind is a radio that is stuck on a static channel. He decides to commit to 7 days of Stoic training. He does not expect his life to change overnight. He simply wants to reclaim his dignity. As Thomas begins, he remembers the advice of the Stoic teacher, Epictetus. Epictetus taught his students that small gains lead to large victories. He said, "Practice yourself, for heaven's sake, in little things, and thence proceed to greater." This is the heart of our plan. We do not start by trying to forgive a lifetime of betrayal. We start by training the mind in the small, quiet moments of a single week. Here is the detailed 7-day dignity and recovery plan for you to follow. I suggest you listen to this section carefully, and perhaps even write these steps down. Day number 1. Today. Your goal is to define your territory. Take a piece of paper and draw a large circle. In the center of that circle, write the word internal. Outside of the circle, write the word external. Now, identify one specific thing that has been upsetting you lately. Perhaps it is a child's lifestyle choices, a neighbor's behavior, or a news story. Ask yourself, which part of this do I truly control? You will find that you only control your own thoughts and your own actions. Everything else belongs outside the circle. Write that upsetting situation outside the circle. Tell yourself, this is not my domain. Spend 5 minutes today looking at that circle and accepting that your peace is only found in the center. Day number 2. Today is the day of stillness. We live in a world of constant noise. For 10 minutes today, I want you to practice complete silence. This means no radio, no television, and no phone. If you have faith, you may spend this time in prayer. If not, simply sit with your own thoughts. Do not try to fight your thoughts or judge them. Just observe them like clouds passing in the sky. This practice helps you realize that you are the observer of your mind, not the victim of it. 10 minutes of silence is a powerful way to remind yourself that your peace comes from within, not from the sounds of the world. Day number 3. Today, we practice secret kindness. The Stoics believed that being a good person is its own reward. Sometime today, perform one act of kindness for someone else. But do it in total secret. Do not tell your friends. Do not post it online. And do not even wait for a thank you. Perhaps you leave an anonymous note of encouragement for a neighbor, or you tidy up a public space. This exercise trains you to stop seeking approval from others. It reminds you that your character is built by what you do when no one is watching. Day number 4. Today, we use the morning compass. Before you start your day, sit with your coffee or tea for 5 minutes. Write down or think about 3 small things that might go wrong today. Perhaps you will get stuck in traffic, or a clerk will be rude, or you will feel a physical ache. Then, decide ahead of time how a dignified person would handle those things. By anticipating the difficulty, you remove its power to surprise and upset you. You are choosing your response before the world can choose it for you. Day number 5. Today is the digital fast. For 4 hours today, I want you to turn off your phone and your television completely. We are often unaware of how much the news and social media are draining our energy and feeding our overthinking. During these 4 hours, protect your inner citadel. Read a book, work in a garden, or take a walk. Notice how much calmer your mind becomes when you are not being bombarded by the opinions of strangers. You are reclaiming your most valuable resource, your attention. Day number 6. Today is for forgiveness as freedom. This is not about the other person. It is about you. Identify one person who has hurt you in the past. It could be a friend, a family member, or even yourself. Realize that carrying resentment toward them is like drinking poison and expecting them to suffer. For 10 minutes today, tell yourself, I release the debt they owe me. I choose to be free from this weight. You are not saying what they did was right. You are saying that your soul is too precious to be tied to their mistakes. Day number 7. Today is the sunset review. Look back at the last 6 days. Where did you stand firm like a lighthouse? Where did you lose your balance? Do not judge yourself for your failures. Simply observe them and decide how to improve tomorrow. This is the day you realize that Stoicism is a lifelong journey of recovery. You have survived the week with more dignity and awareness than you had before. This 7-day plan is a gift you give to yourself. It is a way to prove that you are still the master of your own life. Apply this plan whenever you feel overwhelmed by family conflict or the loss of a sense of purpose. When life feels chaotic, return to these 7 steps. They are your anchor. Whatever your faith, you will find that these disciplines align with the virtues of patience, kindness, and self-control. Remember, the goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to be a person who is constantly training, constantly recovering, and constantly standing back up. By following this plan, you are sending a message to yourself and to the world. My peace is not for sale. I am a person of dignity, and I choose how I walk through this life. I will say that again to help it take root in your mind. My peace is not for sale. I am a person of dignity, and I choose how I walk through this life. If you are ready to begin this journey and reclaim your steadiness, we would love to hear from you. I invite you to type the words, "I choose my response." I choose my response. The final habit we will weave into our lives is the daily Stoic routine. This consists of two quiet bookends for your day, the morning compass and the evening review. The principle behind this routine is the concept of living with intentionality rather than by accident. The Stoics believed that a good life is not something that happens to you, but something you consciously build through your morning preparations and your evening reflections. They taught that the mind, much like a musical instrument, must be tuned at the beginning of the day so that it plays the right notes during the hours of work and social interaction. Then, at the end of the day, it must be inspected to see where it went out of tune. By creating these two sacred moments of stillness, you ensure that you are the one steering your ship, rather than letting the winds of the world blow you wherever they please. It is the difference between being a reactive person and a dignified person. In our modern life, these bookends are often the most neglected parts of our day. Most people wake up and immediately reach for their smartphones. Before they have even taken their first conscious breath, they are flooded with news of global chaos. Emails from demanding co-workers, or social media posts that make them feel inadequate. They start their day in a state of defense, reacting to the world before they have even found their own center. Then, at the end of the day, they fall into bed, exhausted, often staring at a screen until they drift off. Their minds remain cluttered with the day's frustrations, and their sleep is fitful because they never took the time to close the door on their worries. For those of us in our later years, this lack of routine can feel especially heavy. Without a clear morning purpose or an evening peace, the days can begin to blur together, leaving us feeling adrift and disconnected. Let us look at a modern illustration of how this habit can transform a life. Consider a woman named Martha. Martha is 67 years old. For years, her morning routine was to turn on the news as soon as she woke up. Within 10 minutes, she would feel a knot of anxiety in her stomach about the state of the world. She would then check her messages and see a complaint from a family member, which would set the tone for her entire afternoon. By the time she went to bed, she felt drained and resentful, her mind replaying every small slight she had experienced during the day. She felt like she was constantly carrying a heavy backpack of yesterday's troubles into today. Martha decided to adopt the Stoic routine. She called her morning practice the morning compass. Now, before she even touches her phone or turns on a device, she sits quietly with her first cup of coffee. She looks out the window at the morning light. She tells herself, "Martha, today you will likely encounter people who are rushed, ungrateful, or unkind. You may face a physical ache or a plan that falls through. These things are beyond your control. But your kindness, your patience, and your dignity are entirely within your control. I will not let the world decide who I am today." A Stoic teacher would recognize this as a form of premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. Marcus Aurelius practiced this every single morning. He wrote in his journals, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly, but I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and I know that no one can implicate me in ugliness. By anticipating the friction of the day, Martha is no longer shocked when it happens. When the pharmacy is slow or a friend is short with her on the phone, she does not lose her temper. She simply thinks, "This is exactly what I prepared for this morning." Her morning compass has kept her on course. Then, in the evening, Martha performs her evening review. Before she goes to sleep, she sits in her chair for 10 minutes in total darkness. She looks back at her day like a gentle auditor. She asks herself, "What did I do well today? Where did I lose my way? And what can I do better tomorrow?" This practice was famously described by Seneca. He wrote, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go over what I have done and said, I hide nothing from myself, and I pass nothing by." Seneca did not do this to punish himself or to dwell on his mistakes. He did it so he could go to sleep with a clear conscience. For Martha, this means that even if she had a difficult day, she can close the book. She acknowledges her mistakes, learns from them, and then lets them go. She does not carry the weight of Tuesday into Wednesday. She gives herself the gift of a clean slate. Apply this routine when you are struggling with a long-standing family conflict. In the morning, decide that you will be the person who offers grace, regardless of how they act. In the evening, if you felt a moment of bitterness, simply note it, forgive yourself, and resolve to try again tomorrow. Apply this when you are dealing with chronic physical pain. In the morning, prepare yourself to meet the pain with patience. In the evening, congratulate yourself for the moments you remained steady despite the discomfort. Whatever your faith, you may find that this routine feels like a form of prayer or meditation. It is a way to align your spirit with your values every single day. It reminds you that while you are a part of a larger universe, you have been given a specific garden to tend your own mind. To make this practical for you today, I want to give you a very specific structure. The morning compass takes exactly 5 minutes. Before you engage with any electronics, stand by a window or sit in your favorite chair. Say this to yourself: I will meet challenges today, but I will not let them change who I am. My character is my own. Think of one specific interaction you are worried about and imagine yourself handling it with total calmness. You are now mentally inoculated against the day's stress. The evening review takes 10 minutes. Before you lie down to sleep, sit in silence. Ask yourself 3 questions. Number 1, what did I do well today? It is important to start with your wins, however small they may be. Number 2, where was my peace disturbed? Be honest about your anger or your overthinking. Number 3, what is one small thing I can improve tomorrow? Once you have answered these, tell yourself, the day is finished. I have done my duty. I am at peace. By practicing these 2 bookends, you stop being a victim of time. You start being the master of your days. You will find that you sleep more deeply and wake with more purpose. You are building a life of dignity. One morning and one evening at a time. I will say that again to help you remember. The day is finished. I have done my duty. I am at peace. If you are ready to start your morning and end your evening with a steady mind, we would love to hear from you. I invite you to type the words, I own my morning. I rest in my evening. I own my morning. I rest in my evening. We have come to the end of our time together today. But I hope this is only the beginning of a quieter and steadier season for you. Remember the lighthouse we spoke about at the start of our journey. It does not try to move the ocean or stop the wind. It simply remains lit, standing firm upon the rock. You have the power to be that lighthouse in your own life. No matter how chaotic the world around you may seem, the ancient Stoics did not ask us to be perfect. They simply asked us to be present and to take responsibility for our own inner peace. True strength is not found in controlling other people or changing the past. It is found in the way you choose to carry yourself right now. As you move forward, I encourage you to begin the 7-day dignity plan, or simply start with your morning and evening reflections. Be patient with yourself. You are not a machine, you are a soul, learning to walk a path of wisdom. You do not need to be perfect, you just need to be present. Whether you find your strength in these ancient words, in your prayer, or in the quiet of your own heart, please remember that you are never truly alone in this struggle. We are all walking this path together, one day at a time. Before you leave, I invite you to make one small commitment to yourself. Perhaps you will commit to 5 minutes of silence tonight. Or perhaps you will choose to let go of one old regret. Please share that small commitment in the comments below. It is a powerful way to anchor your intention. If these reflections have brought you a sense of peace, we invite you to join our community by subscribing and sharing this with someone who might need a gentle reminder of their own strength today. These ideas are shared for reflection and personal growth, and they are not a substitute for professional mental health support. If you are going through something heavy, please reach out to someone you trust or a qualified professional. Stoicism is a philosophy for living, not a religion, and we respect the beauty of all faiths and beliefs. As you go about your day or prepare for your rest, keep this thought close to your heart. I am at peace with what is. I am at peace with what is. I invite you to type one last affirmation in the comments to seal our time together. Please type, "My spirit is steady. My spirit is steady."